Frieren Season 2, the anime ruined the manga. If you even skimmed through the fan spaces, you would have heard this line. You may have assumed that this is a complaint. It is not. In fact, it is the highest praise an adaptation can receive. Studio Madhouse has done such a fabulous job of bringing the source material to life that going back to the static panels feels strange. The manga feels flat in comparison, not because Tsukasa Abe's art is weak. It is not, but because the anime has achieved what those panels were always aiming for. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how Madhouse pulled this off, who this season actually belongs to, and why the finale proves that Season 2 is not just a setup for the Golden Land arc, but a masterpiece in its own right. If you are someone who read the manga before the anime came out, drop a comment below. I am genuinely curious whether the ruin the manga effect is hitting manga first fans as hard as the anime first fans. To understand how the anime elevates the source material so effectively, you have to look at where it focuses its emotional energy. Season 1 was Frieren's story. Her grief, her regret, her slow awakening to the fact that she had let people matter to her. Season 2 belongs to Stark. For a long time, Stark had been a punching bag. He's the coward who runs away, the guy who gets tricked, the warrior who constantly underestimates himself. But Season 2 strips away the punchline. We see his internal battle with cowardice not as a joke, but as a genuine psychological hurdle. And it all culminates in episode 8, the Divine Revolte fight. In the manga, the fight is over in a flash. Just a couple of panels showing Stark taking a hit or two to deliver why. But the new series director, Tomoya Kitagawa, and the team at Madhouse extended this into a 60-second masterpiece of animation and character storytelling. And at the end of it, look at that smirk. This isn't arrogance. This is a kid who has spent his entire life running away, finally realizing that he is strong enough to stand his ground. He takes 4 swords to the body simultaneously and he smiles because he knows he's won the mental battle. He is not running away anymore. The entire sequence was elevated by the anime. The manga told us Stark was brave. The anime made us feel the weight of that bravery. But what about Frieren? The show is named after her after all. A major criticism I have seen floating around is that Frieren takes a backseat. She spends most of the Northern Plateau encounters watching rather than fighting. And my response to that is yes, exactly what she deserved. This is the only honest thing the show could have done with the character at her stage. Frieren has shifted from an active protagonist to a mentor. She is no longer just discovering Himmel's legacy. She is actively transmitting it to the next generation. Notice how Kitagawa directs Frieren in these episodes. The camera frequently positions her in the background, out of focus, watching Fern and Stark figure things out. She only steps in where absolutely necessary. She is becoming to them what Himmel was to her, a guiding memory in the making. And this brings us to the quiet moments. Some people call the middle episodes of the season filler. If you think episodes focusing on the dwarf Fass or the bridge builder Gehen are filler, you have fundamentally misunderstood what Frieren is about. Frieren has always been an architecture of the aftermath. It is about what happens after the Demon King is dead. The small vignettes do massive thematic work. They prove that the journey and the memory are the actual point. When Frieren helps polish a statue or clear a path, the anime breathes life into the environment. The swaying of perspective shots, the sun filtering through the trees, the subtle changes in the wind. Madhouse uses the environment to reflect Aimel's philosophy. It is the everyday minutiae of ridiculous journey that matters most, as can be seen in the writing found in his journal. I will let you decide what the empty pages mean, as I am sure they mean something different to each of us. This multiplicity of reading is what makes this series worth multiple watches. We cannot talk about how the anime surpasses the manga without talking about the one thing a manga literally cannot have, Evan Call's score. Call doesn't just write generic fantasy battle music. He writes character state music. When Stark is terrified, the strings are erratic and thin. When Stark finds his resolve, the brass section swells to support him. The music acts as the internal monologue. The manga had to write it out, the anime does it with music. It tells us exactly what the characters are feeling without a single word of dialogue. Which brings us to the finale. The new director was shift in tone, and the title character who spends most of the season watching rather than fighting. None of that cost the show anything. Kitagawa's direction brought sharper timing to the moments season 1 would have softened. Stark's arc is the best character work this franchise has produced. The Divine Revolt fight is the best action sequence. The minor character vignettes are doing serious thematic work without announcing it, and Ivan Cowell's score remains the beating heart of the production. Some critics will call this a bridge season because it ends right before the legendary Golden Land arc. But that framing sells it short. Season 2 gives you something much rarer than a simple plot resolution, a completely realized emotional arc. It is not just a bridge, it is a crucible. It proves that Stark, Fern, and Frieren are ready for what comes next. It leaves you perfectly poised on the edge of the franchise's biggest philosophical challenge, with characters who have actually earned the right to face it. 9 out of 10, at least. Watch season 2 if you have not. Read absolutely nothing about the Golden Land arc. Come back and tell me if I got this right. 3 things before you leave. Like the video if the analysis was worth your time. Subscribe if you want this level of attention paid to anime, film, and books on a regular basis. And share this with whoever you watched season 2 with. I want to know what they thought about the Stark smirk. The comments are open. I will be there. I will see you in the next one.